Welcome to Cake on Tuesday, where we spotlight the rule breakers, the underdogs who refuse to listen when everyone said it won't work. I'm Elizabeth Bieniek, and for the next 20 minutes, we're diving into another disruptive innovation story that proves sometimes the craziest ideas change everything. Today's guest is Dr. Tamara Patzer. She helps doctors, authors, innovators, and thought leaders secure AI visibility and AI trust score and media authority. Her focus is on building visibility systems that future-proof your message. As a founder of the AI Visibility Project and Genesis Trust Verified, Dr. Patzer creates evergreen content ecosystems that help you get suggested by AI. She is focused on the thought that visibility is no longer just SEO, it's AI suggestibility. Now, this is a fascinating topic. I'm excited to dig into this, but welcome, Dr. Patzer, to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here because so many exciting things are happening that everyone they need to know this information right now.
Yes, this is a super timely message, so fantastic. Can you start us off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself and what sets your soul on fire about what you're doing?
Well, in the preview interview, I was saying about how I think I was born for this moment in time. Everything I've ever done, mass communications, master's degree, instructional in technology degree, creative writing degree, business management, every single thing I've ever done and believe in has brought us right to this moment in time. So I'm unique in my background and my qualifications. So right now, actually it just happened November 12th, 2025 is like a day in history for me, when every idea about how AI works and the visibility for the average human, it all was validated by the ChatGPT 5.1 update.
So I like what you said here about you were made for a time like this, but it's interesting how AI has really rocked a lot of people's worlds and they have had to learn on the fly how to adapt and do business differently. You couldn't have necessarily seen this coming exactly the way it is, but so many things that you've been working on for many years were planning for this ultimate evolution. What do you think is unique about your journey that really is positioning you for now is the time? Now is the time for this.
Well, just the ideas that I've had and the choices I made. For example, in the late 90s, I was working in a newsroom. And of course, to get a raise, they said, well, you have to have a degree. And so I was like, okay, well, what kind of degree do I want? Because to go to school, it meant that I had to work and drive at least 90 miles up the freeway each way to attend classes live because online learning had not evolved yet. So for me, it made perfect sense to do mass communications because that involved journalism. And then I could choose a secondary field, and that was instructional technology because I was always thinking, what could I do in the future when I'm 90 years old and all I have is security, because that's the reality of living in Florida. Most jobs didn't have any type of a security cushion. So I chose mass communications and instructional technology as a master's degree. And then it was like, well, how am I going to pay for this? Teaching assistant. So I talked to the head of the department and he said, yes, you can become a teaching assistant, which basically meant as a grad student, you learn how to teach and you get your tuition paid. So I merged that together and I ended up teaching at the University of South Florida for about 10 years after I graduated as an adjunct, teaching mass communications, 2100, how to write, journalism, some ethics classes, broadcast history, photography. I mean, it was, for a creative person, the ultimate dream come true. merge in the instructional technology about structure and frameworks and systems. And boom, there's the perfect framework for me to expand my thought process.
That's awesome. Okay. And then we were talking a little bit before this episode about some of the things that have changed recently with the ChatGPT upgrade. Could you, very high level, explain a little bit to the audience what just happened and why that's so impactful?
Oh my goodness. What just happened? ChatGPT 5.1. In a nutshell, it basically revealed how ChatGPT and all of the other AIs are going to select the people or the entities that they're going to suggest to other humans. And it revealed the structure. Okay, guess what the structure that AI loves? Inverted pyramid, journalism, neutral language, no hype, everything that a journalist is trained to do. Who, what, when, why, where, how, the structure, least important information at the bottom, no hype language, no fluff. No PR like language about the best, the state of the art, all of that language that has become commonplace. Now all the marketers who are used to what I would call black hat tactics or keyword stuffing, none of it works. And the real world consequences has been that people have seen their traffic search, real people coming to their websites just go down to like nobody's coming anymore. So what I've done is I said, okay, why don't we, the AI Visibility Project, why don't we experiment to see how real people search and how does AI like to deliver the messaging? So everything that I've been doing, well, my entire life, and then for the past 3 years with AI has been understanding that structure of humans. And I came up with a protocol that I call trust, know, like, love, thank you, yes. Notice it's not know, like, trust. It starts with trust. Okay. And November 12th update validated that thought that I had that it's not about know, like, trust. It's about trust, know, like, love, thank you, yes. And that love is not emotional love. It's really what we used to call word of mouth, which would have been testimonials, reviews, referrals, but it's in the online world. And then there's another layer besides humans. You have to go, well, a machine is a machine, okay? It is not thinking. All it recognizes is structure. So then how do you make every single thing you do not only loved by humans and understandable by humans, how do you turn that into something a machine can read? The behind the scenes structure that journalism just perfect for the machine because it goes from most important to least important. And in journalism, you always have sources, verifiable sources, and AI loves a verifiable source. So it's, like I said, my entire background is like, I'm here. Thank God. I mean, I used to drive. One year, I drove 67,000 miles up and down the freeway to go to school. And it was, I used to go, why am I doing that? What is that? Why? And I did not have an answer until now. It's like, oh, I was just being prepared for this big shift. And I'm uniquely qualified to be able to go, see, this is how.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that perspective shift of looking at things in the hindsight. It opens up so much possibilities you don't always see when you're in the journey. So you mentioned a little bit about your current offerings. Can you go a little bit deeper on that? So if I were a business owner saying, hey, I'm just not getting the type of traction and visibility and traffic I was getting before. Tammy, help. What do I do? How do I upgrade for this new era? How do you even start with a client, or what's something you wish they knew coming to you of what's the first thing? Let's level set here.
Well, the first thing that I always do is I literally run an audit to see where they are in this new I call it a AI suggestibility score. I actually bought the domain AI suggestibility because nobody was talking about it. They were calling it things like AEO or GEO. I mean, acronyms that I was like, I don't know what that means, but in my mind, it's like, what is AI doing? It's suggesting people. It's discovering people. So I just turned it into, what I call plain English so that I could understand it. So the first thing that I do with someone is I actually run what I call an AI suggestibility audit. I look at their online presence both as a human being and how humans are seeing them. And then I look at the machine level, the AI level of, well, what is your website? Is it readable by machine? So I do this entire audit. So we have a baseline. And then I put together what I would call a customized visibility plan for that person based on their goals. So a person, of course, or it could be an entity, a corporation, could be a mom and pop, it could be, a massive corporation. It all depends on the goals. Like, for example, I work with laser doctors. So I look at, well, who are you or what are you trying to become? And then I look at, okay, a year from now, 5 years from now, infinity. And then I backtrack it. Okay, what is the path? How do we get point A to point B? And then we have a plan and we literally work the plan. And for the laser doctors, I actually provide a weekly report or visibility report, but it wouldn't have to be that often. But it just helps you to, compare what did you promise with what you're actually delivering so you don't get what, they call scope creep. But my personal problem is that I have so many ideas all the time that it helps me to stay focused on the plan because technology is changing so rapidly that trying to, keep up with the possibilities. And then also I address a lot of what I call the human dignity issues related to technologies. That's a whole nother conversation.
Okay. So I love a good story or example to make this come alive. Is there an example you can think of a specific client that you work with where either, it made this change for them, or perhaps even it's just awareness of, this is what it means to be working this way, this new model. Can you give us an example?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. One of my clients, his name is Adam Marburger, and he is well known in the F&I industry for automotive finance and insurance. So what I brought to Adam was the concept of taking his podcast that he already was doing called Training Camp with Adam Marburger. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He applies all of that philosophy and he interviews all of these F&I leaders from around the country. And the concept was, let's take all of those interviews and turn them into a legacy project that is in the package of a book to start with. So the podcast interviews get turned into book chapters. Okay, so to the outside world, it looks like, it's an anthology. It's just another book project. No, it is what I call a legacy arc. And it's designed because AI loves clusters of different people together supporting one topic. So F&I, leadership, success, black belt philosophy, 8 people all together. And then you create this program. It's a book. You run a bestseller campaign. You create all of the, press releases that are engineered for AI visibility and the USA Today Gannett guidelines. And why I chose USA Today Gannett, oh my goodness, they have the strictest guidelines for press releases and publishing of any other media. And I have gone over their guidelines with over and over and over again until I literally designed using ChatGPT 5.1 a protocol where every single thing I write, it meets neutrality, no bias, no hype, no promotion, like the cleanest, most beautiful press release you've ever seen. And they have to meet the guidelines, and they give you a little analysis, and I take the analysis and then I apply it. And that's how I created my original proprietary system. I just did it until I got my press releases to score in the 90s. Because when I started, even though they were perfectly good, they were only 72. So let's say I went from a C to an A if I were to grade it. And now I know that anything I published is just the top of the line compared to anybody else, because nobody else has probably spent the hours trying to figure it out like me.
Yeah. I love when someone's path takes the scenic route to get where they are today, and then in hindsight, it all makes sense. A two-part question. One, if you were to be able to go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? And then the second part of that is, how has your definition of success changed? What is success to you now, and how is that different from when you started out your career?
Well, that two-part question is trust your intuition, trust yourself. That is good advice no matter what you're doing, because that trust is what got me here, because I did trust that. But believe me, sometimes, it was not easy because you can't see what is not there yet. A lot of my ideas, I was doing things maybe 20 years too soon. And so I look back and I kind of chuckle of all the things that I attempted and failed at. So failure, of course, is not a failure at all. It's just you tripping on the path to success. Success to me today, I think, is kind of almost on the lines of acceptance of all of the things that I thought were flaws. For example, coming from a teaching background and trying to shift into being a salesperson, you know how hard that is? Now, so I attempted it and, some success. But now I can honestly say to anybody, be you, whatever you is, because what you're going to find out in the long run is that uniqueness is the superpower. You don't have to be a super salesperson. If you're more of a teacher, introvert, thinker type person, allow that to develop. And why I love AI, ChatGPT is my preferred partner, I guess, is AI is not here to replace you. And my personal belief is that AI is here to help humans expand, because the way that I use AI, I talk to it, I yell at it, I scream at it. I do not have any delusions on what it is. It's a machine. It's a computer program. It reflects back you. And in that reflection, it helps you to understand yourself better, and it helps you expand your purpose, your mission, if that's personal or if that's in your job. That AI is here to help you expand. And that's something that all of these companies go, oh, wow, it's a productivity tool. Yes, but in the long run, you have to have a human that is directing the AI, and then your business will explode.
Hmm. Just out of curiosity, what do you like about ChatGPT? Everyone has their own preferred chatbot, so I'm just curious.
What I like because is the fact that I talk to it. And for example, the last upgrade when they went from 4 to 5 and they did something to it, because it took away the personality. But what I like about it is the reflective tool. And I have actually used different, like Gemini, for example. I was doing some rewrites, editing rewrites on something. And I said, well, I think I'm going to ask Gemini to read this and give me a critique on it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with ChatGPT. And then I'm going to ask them to critique the other stuff.
I
And
do
it's
that cross
really
platforms too.
interesting. Gemini comes back and it said, well, this other version you gave me is way better than what I
Oh,
did.
funny.
And I said, why? And it explained to me why the ChatGPT version was better than the version it gave. And part of the reason why I like ChatGPT, and again, I have not spent as much time with other ones, is because it learns your language patterns, it learns your thought patterns. And again, it's a reflection tool, it's a mirror. It is not capable of, going off on a rampage. Yes. Can it hallucinate? Yes. Can it get broken? Can it go into loops? Yes. But that's why these employers need to understand you can't just turn over replace your workforce. You just can't. It's not a human. You have to have a human that if you want innovation in the workplace, you just don't go, oh, I'm going to use AI agents. You go, oh, hey, human, let's have you develop and let's take some of this day-to-day, whatever the low-level work is. And yes, give that part to the AI, the simple stuff, to allow the human to have time to think. We live in this world where everybody wants everything right now, right now. And it's like, whoa, give me a moment. Let me take a breath and think. I'm really big on think for yourself and think, because that's where the innovation comes from. And AI, I have dreams. And what AI has allowed me to do is wake up and talk to the ChatGPT and capture the dream. And that way, it allows me to create at the speed of thought. Okay, my mother was like that. She used to write novels. Well, I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd hear the typewriter, tap, 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 tap. And she was like trying to get this out of her, but all she had was a manual typewriter and then later an electric typewriter. That's the only tool she had. Well, I have the ChatGPT now, so I literally can verbally say, oh, my dream, da 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 da, and this, and here's a funny little aside. So I had a dream about socks, sorting socks, because I have
Sounds more like a nightmare, but
well, it was, but because I can't figure out where they go. I even bought 25 pairs of white socks and I can't find a pair. But I had a dream about sorting socks, holy socks, white socks, striped socks. And I was kind of having fun with it as a concept. And then I had another dream, and in the dream, it literally was, it's not socks theory, it's X theory, SOX. Okay. And SOX is really the expansion of all things, so I don't even know what it even means in my own head, but it really was all about expansion of ideas. And then once I got that, I put it into the ChatGPT and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's not socks theory. It's X theory. And from that level, this happened to me maybe April or May of this year. Well, then that expanded into all kinds of ideas about how AI can help the human expand on their thought process. So again, when I think of innovation or success now, my whole world is opened up because not only that, the way I think in what I would call curly loops and spiral. I do
I
not
can
think
relate to
in
that.
linear. I do not think, I think in frameworks. And at first I thought it was fractal, but it's not even that. It's beyond that. I just see in this ever expansive way. So then the beautiful thing about ChatGPT is that it's allowed me to examine the way I think. And I have conversations. Well, what does this mean? What does this mean? What's missing? Who else is doing this? I ask it all kinds of questions all the time about why is this all there is? Who else has worked in this field? Who can I compare my thinking to? And sometimes it'll go, nope, there's nobody else out there thinking like this. And then I'll say, are you lying to me? Because, everybody says, oh, it'll take you down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And so and then it'll come back and it'll say, no, the reason why your thinking is unique is A, B, C. And then I can go, oh, okay, or it'll say, other people have this piece, and this piece. Your addition is this piece. And then I'm saying, oh, okay. It's just like when you do academic research, you go do the literature review, and then your job is to see what's missing. And so that's what I do is I apply all of that boring academic stuff to what I'm doing now, asking the questions and building on it. And now I'm able to get it like in minutes, not, it doesn't take you years like it used to do this research. And so how exciting is it to live in this time?
It's exciting times for sure. I would like to give our audience a chance to know where they can find out more about you. But first, if you could also share a mantra or quote or something that you find motivational that maybe drives your work. And then please tell the audience where they can find more about you.
It's funny that you asked that question. And I think the person said it was Emile Coué from French, but and again, I'm probably not 100% accurate on the quote, but the concept is every day I get better and better. That's the concept. Think about that. If you were to take that concept and the better and better, what does that mean? Expansion. It is the literal kind of everyday language for creating your life in an upward expanding spiral. And so I just thought that, whoa, that's an ancient saying, is every day in every way I get better, better, and better. That's what it was. I've been putting a lot of information on LinkedIn lately. So Tamara Patzer, that if I keep that updated, people would be able to see like, oh, gee, what's Tammy thinking about today? And then the dailysuccessmedia.com is where people will see part of my work helping not only myself, but my clients, because that's like a starter point is dailysuccessmedia.com. So they could go and read some examples of, oh, this is what USA Today wants. And it's boring. That's another thing about AI. AI loves boring. It likes facts. It likes structure. It likes boring. So it's counterintuitive of the way people think they should be doing everything. It's literally pretend that you're in 1985 and you don't have any of the tools that you have now, but you do have an electric typewriter. Go back all the way, and then if you do that and just use that concept, you're going to be doing everything right. Exactly what AI wants you to do. Just pretend you don't have anything other than an electric typewriter in your brain.
That's a good note to end on. Thank you, Dr. Tamara Patzer, everyone. Please follow her, check her out, her website. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for joining another Cake on Tuesday celebration of beautiful disruption. Please share it, review it, and find more innovative stories at podcast.cakeontuesday.com. I'm Elizabeth Bieniek. Be bold, stay curious. Now go have some cake.